Chapter 12. The Master, a Must. We now come to a point in our analysis of the journey towards self-realization, about which there is not much understanding, the role of the Master in the quest for self-realization. The word Master has been used in many different senses. Indeed, there is a great deal of controversy on whether or not a master is even needed for such a journey. It is only when one reaches the eye center that the need for a master really becomes necessary. Up to this point, withdrawal of attention is easy. Anybody can do it. It is not something very difficult. But upon reaching this point, your progress will simply stop. The experience of reaching the eye center is so beautiful that you will no longer have any urge to rise to the higher states of consciousness. You will feel that this is the end. And it is here that you need the Master to convince you that, no, this is just the beginning. He pushes you forward. He takes you on a flight throughout this entire universe. You will then discover that there are many more worlds existing, which are far more beautiful than this world known to us. You are amazed to find that there are many more people who have attained a higher level of awareness than you had ever imagined. We think only a few rare souls have attained this higher state of awareness. In fact, this world in which we live is simply a replica of these higher worlds. You will discover that the events happening on this physical plane of consciousness are nothing more than a replay. You find out that the film of this physical life is made there, and is then projected through time, space, and causation onto this physical experience. The time-space continuum outside is simply a screen on which consciousness is projecting a film, already made at the astral level of consciousness. On this plane, we are able to actually see these films being loaded into consciousness at this physical level. You can see how, in the future, we will be able to plug ourselves into each other and transfer our thoughts and feelings in a few seconds. Since the mode of communication at the astral level is that of telepathy, it will eventually be reflected at the physical plane of consciousness over here. We will then call it a scientific discovery. At this level of consciousness, you will be able to see everything that is going to happen on this physical plane for the next 2,000 years. You will see all of these events there. It is a fantastic experience. And it is the spiritual master who makes it possible for you to see all of this. He is able to give you instructions on how, by the use of one's own personal consciousness, this region of awareness can be attained. In fact, he will accompany you throughout your whole journey inside consciousness. You will also begin to notice how the lords of these regions respect him, how they show a certain type of reverence and honor to him, which they do not show to anyone else. You begin to wonder, what is so special about him? He is just a co-traveler with me. He is simply a guide who has brought me to this level. Why is he being shown so much respect? But the people at this higher level of awareness know who he is. They know that he belongs to a higher region. The Master is now teaching you in a different way than he did on this physical plane. At the physical level, the Master teaches you how to go within, how to trigger the experience of reaching the astral state of being. Once you have been able to achieve this, he must then take you out of this state, because you will like it so much that you will not want to leave it. He has to somehow or other persuade you that there is still something better than this. He has a very hard time doing this because, in spite of everything he says, you do not want to go on. The astral region is so beautiful and satisfying that you do not ever want to leave it. It is everything you have hoped for, and you do not want anything more. But the Master goes on insisting that this is not the end and you must go on. He then takes you to still higher realms of consciousness by showing you how to withdraw your attention through the process of listening to the sound current, the sound of the self that I mentioned in the previous chapter. This process then enables you to withdraw your attention from the astral body itself and takes you into the region of pure mind. There, the senses are no longer necessary. In this state of consciousness, it is no longer necessary to have the power to see in order to see. It is no longer necessary to have the power to hear in order to hear, and so on. At this level of consciousness, you acquire the capacity to have direct perception, the ability to have experiences directly with the mind. You are able to enter the region of the universal mind, the causal region, where all things and events have their origin. This causal region is simply the region of pure mind, where neither the physical nor the astral body are required. There are hardly any words that can describe the experience of this state of being. It is really impossible to give a description of it, yet something must be said. But first, let me clarify one very important point. These regions are not one above the other. You don't have to go from here to there. All these different regions are in the same place. They are within your own consciousness. Even this physical world which we see around us is within consciousness, from where we project it outside. Even the dream world which we experience when we slip below this wakeful level of consciousness is contained within this same consciousness. Therefore, we do not actually go anywhere to have these experiences of higher regions. They automatically come into being when we shift our focus of attention. This must be clearly understood throughout this description of the journey to higher regions. When we enter into the causal region, we are able to have the experience of total time. In the astral region, we were surprised to discover that time could be suspended. In this physical region, time cannot be held. You are having some nice experience, and you want to hold on to it, but this cannot be done at this physical level. However, it can be done at the astral level. At the causal level, you can not only suspend time, but you are able to travel backward and forward as well. If you want, you can move backwards into the past to re-experience your happiest moments, not through memory, but through the actual re-experience of the event. If there is some experience happening to you that you do not particularly care for, you can leap over it and continue traveling until you reach an experience of your liking. It is an incredible experience. At the causal level of consciousness, time becomes mobile. You can move through time in any direction that you like. You have the ability to go through past, present, and future experiences at will. Along with the nature of time, the whole concept of reality changes. We discover that what we thought was the beginning of an event is not so, because this experience can be had at any time, throughout the flow of time. When you can travel in any direction in the time continuum, where is the beginning? You can make any part of time the beginning, the middle, or the end. This new and unique ability completely overwhelms and fills us with elation. Then we become anxious to know more about the nature of this new reality we are experiencing. At the causal level, we also discover that the reason we were able to communicate through telepathy at the astral level was because there is only one mind. We discover that all thoughts of all people were there, inside one single universal mind. Entering into the causal state of being, we acquire access to all thoughts being had by all minds, throughout the entire spectrum of time. I cannot really describe the impact of the realization that what you thought was your mind and his mind were simply fragments of a single mind. As a result of this experience, all misunderstandings, all problems in human relationships immediately disappear. At the causal level of consciousness, another very interesting thing also takes place. We discover that all past actions, all future actions, and all current actions are being manufactured here. We are able to see how the law of karma operates. At this physical level of consciousness, we do not know if a certain event which occurred happened because of something we had done a few moments before, or because of something we did 10 lives ago. In fact, we are not even sure that there is such a thing as a past lifetime. At this physical level, we have absolutely no knowledge about matters such as these. But when we are able to go into the causal region of consciousness, we are capable of seeing our entire lifetime, as well as that of any other person we want. The experiences which we get upon entering the causal region are so immense, so expansive and total, that no one can believe that there could be any experience higher than this. Even the most knowledgeable person, someone who has made a very deep study of the levels of human consciousness before making the journey, upon reaching this level, finds it impossible to conceive of anything higher than it. The experience is too grand and too immense for anyone to intellectually comprehend it. When it happens to you, you are really convinced that this is it. And again, the Master, whom you now see in his causal form, must somehow take you still higher. You are still in the realm of the mind, he tells you. This is not the end of the journey. We have still a very long way to go. Consciousness transcends mind, and you must go beyond this region. But the experience of this region is so tremendous that we refuse to believe even the Master. The Master has a very, very difficult time in persuading us to go beyond the causal level. Therefore, a very long period of time is spent in this region. Incidentally, when I say a lot of time, I am not referring to a few years. I am referring to much longer spans of time. Hundreds of thousands of years are sometimes spent in this region. We cannot believe that there is anything beyond this region, and the enjoyment of it is so fulfilling that we flatly refuse to make any attempt to continue the journey. It is only through spiritual force that the Master is able to take us up to the next region of consciousness, where even the universal mind gets left behind, the pure spiritual region. Once we reach the pure spiritual region, we discover that it was the mind itself which was creating time. All events, whether they were total or not, were being sustained in a time frame created by the mind. Even if you could move in either direction on this continuum, it was still within time. At the causal level, we are not able to cross time itself. This capacity comes only after we are able to rise into the pure spiritual state of being. It is really impossible to give any description of this region. Those souls who are able to experience this level of consciousness have not been able to describe it with words. At best, they are only able to describe it in a negative sense. Neti, neti. Not this, not that. Therefore, strictly speaking, I should end here because nothing more can be said. One of India's greatest mystics, Sant Kabir, has written a very beautiful book, which is an account of a conversation with his principal disciple, Dharam Das. The book is called Anurag Sagar, the Ocean of Love. In it, Dharam Das asks Kabir to say something about the higher regions beyond the mind. You have been lecturing to me for a long time about the higher level of consciousness, about a higher way of seeing things. Why don't you tell me what this is really about? What is this higher consciousness? Kabir replies, Dharam Das, how can I say anything about it to you? I can't describe it with the words of this world. How can I explain to you that there is a state of consciousness where there is no time? How would you comprehend it? How can you comprehend a state of being where there is no time and no space? But these are only words. They are not the experience. We can go on and on repeating that the experience is one of timelessness and spacelessness, but it will not be a description of this region. And then Kabir goes on to tell Dharam Das, in a storybook fashion, the whole tale of creation, relating it to the worldly life here. It is one of the greatest books ever written. When the causal region is traversed, and you are able to enter into a higher level of conscious experience, then alone are you able to realize that time is not an indispensable coordinate of this experience, that one can have experience without time. You are able to have the experience of timeless time. This timeless time is where all time is total. All time is existing in one single moment, and you need not move backwards or forward. The entire scope of all experiences available within time is capsuled into a single timeless moment. This experience is impossible to describe. I don't know why I am even trying to say anything about it. I am just trying to give some idea, however inadequate, about the incredible nature of the pure spiritual experience. It is an experience where time need not be extended in order to have personal experience. All experiences are condensed at this level of consciousness. At this level, one has an intense longing to be one with everyone, to love everyone. Everything is known instantly, intuitively. No time is required. This timeless, spaceless experience occurs when we are able to enter into this spiritual region, existing one step above the causal region. At this level, we transcend everything relevant to all known reality. Our experience becomes permanent. It never suffers death. It never changes. It remains exactly the same as it always was, has been, and always will be. At this level, we discover that our nature is the same as that of God Himself, that man is God. He is made of the same stuff of which God is made, but has been completely ignorant of this fact. Man is a seed, the seed of God. When man reaches the pure spiritual level of consciousness, he blossoms. The God in him becomes manifest. The fragrance of divineness is released because godliness has bloomed in you, and you become so fulfilled and joyous that you have no desire or need to go anywhere else. We then thank our spiritual master for bringing us to this highest level of consciousness. But he says, no, this is still not the end of our journey. You have only discovered your own self. You have yet to discover God Himself. When we transcend the pure spiritual region, we are able to cross the last barrier, the barrier of individuation. Even this feeling that there can be more than one soul, that you are simply one of many billions of other souls, is an illusion. We discover that at the level of total consciousness, we are able to transcend the experience of individuation, the experience of ego. At this level of consciousness, no time, not even timeless time, exists. This state of totality of consciousness contains all experiences from the lowest dream up to the very highest, and is being experienced by one single consciousness, your own. It is difficult to explain how the whole of experience is fused together into one total experience. It is unconfined, unlimited, and has no time or space. I am not sure you can even understand this concept of unlimited consciousness without time and space. But this is the experience one gets when one reaches the level of total consciousness. At this level of consciousness, you discover that you have unlimited possibilities, that you are one with the Creator, one with God Himself. Hence, upon attaining this level of consciousness, every person, with no exception, has proclaimed the same thing: Aham Brahmasmi. I am God. It simply means they have realized that their seed is no more a seed. It has disappeared into the soil of existence, and they have come to the ultimate blossoming, to the peak of creation. At the level of total consciousness, you are able to have total experience. Total experience means all experiences, not just the highest experience. This must be clearly understood. The highest experience is lower than the experience of totality. And when anyone attains this level of total consciousness, he continues to be aware of all of the levels of consciousness below, whether he is here or there. At this level, your experience becomes one of symphonic consciousness. People very often wonder whether those who have reached this level of consciousness have to come down and go up in order to know what is happening at the various planes of reality. They don't. They are totally aware of everything at every level of human awareness. This, then, is a brief description of what lies within every human being's own consciousness. I have tried to describe the variety of experiences available in human consciousness as best I could. The language, any language, is completely inadequate. It is something which cannot be described in words, but I have to try to say something about these things because very few people have ever been told of such human possibilities. The secrets of your own consciousness have been kept hidden from you. As a result, a deep feeling of worthlessness surrounds your existence. Society has conditioned you to feel very negative towards yourself. You have been conditioned to believe that your worth is not intrinsic. You are asked to prove yourself, to achieve success, to make a lot of money. You are asked to earn respectability and prestige. You must prove that you are worth something. And this idea of success goes on torturing you throughout your whole life. Hence, the deep feeling that I am worthless as a human being unless I prove otherwise destroys all the beauty of human experience. But when you are able to realize that you are one with God, one with the Creator Himself, this becomes proof enough of your worth. No other proof is needed. you discover the infinite immensity of your own consciousness. For the first time, you are able to really love yourself, which is the only way you can ever love God. Therefore, the greatest fortune that can ever befall a human being in this world is to be initiated by a perfect master, who will then give him the key to the kingdom of God, the key to higher consciousness.